Do you find it hard to speak English? Maybe you need more time to think. Well, use this trick. Time fillers. You can use it in presentations, job interviews, speaking exams like IELTS, or just everyday life. And the best part is it will help you sound more fluent instantly. Ready? Let's go. Okay, everyone, let's start. I will say that the best tips are at the end of the video, so stay for the end of the video if you really want to improve your speaking. Now, remember to download the PDF. There are more phrases and more examples to help you. Okay, the PDF is in the description of this video. Okay, let's start. So what are time fillers anyway? What are they? So time fillers are similar to normal fillers, right? In another video, I talk about normal fillers, like, I mean, you know, Then I made another video about phrasal fillers, phrases that also give you time to think, but structure your thoughts. Now here, time fillers buy you time. They give you a lot more time to think before you answer a question. So when you're speaking with a friend, a colleague, anyone, and especially if you are doing a speaking exam, it can help you a lot, but also in real life. But especially the IELTS speaking exam. So if you're doing that, this video will help you a lot. And it helps you to avoid long pauses, right? When you're just, right? We don't want that. We want you to sound fluent and natural, and this will help you. So our first thing is simple time fillers. They're used for quick pauses when thinking. So they're very simple fillers that will give you time to think. So, let me think. That's a good question. Actually, or well, let me see. Another one, that's a difficult question. Right, there are more in the PDF. So these are simple time fillers. For example, hey, what's your favorite place to travel? Let me think. I guess I'd say Japan because of the culture and food. Yeah, you know, I just love sushi. Notice I added a filler, you know, right? Yeah, you know. This is a very conversational filler. The next one is asking for clarification. That means when you don't fully understand something and you want it to be clearer, right? Clarification, clearer. So, for example, sorry, what do you mean by that? Sorry, what do you mean by that? Or, could you explain that a bit more? I feel like I would say, could you explain that a bit more, please? Because I like being polite, so maybe I'll add that please at the end. Next, I'm not sure I get what you're asking. I'm not sure I get what you're asking. An example, your friend says, so what do you think about the new policy at work? Maybe this person is also a colleague, right? Okay, so what do you think about that new policy at work? Sorry, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean the new work from home rule or the changes in scheduling? Okay, so when you need to understand something more, you can use these phrases to, so someone will explain it clearly for you. Next is you're introducing your thoughts first. So it helps structure, make your response, right, your reply natural. In the PDF, I put a more difficult word, which is preface. You preface your thoughts. So look here. I suppose one way to look at it is, right, I'm setting up my thoughts. I suppose one way to look at it is, then you can give your opinion or an example. It's interesting you ask because Or let's do twice, sorry. It's interesting you ask because, next, that's quite a question. I'd say, that's quite a question. I'd say, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. And we can say, oh, that's a difficult one. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. All the same meaning. It means it's a difficult question. An example. Do you think social media is making people less social? That's a tough one. I suppose one way to look at it is that it keeps people connected. But yeah, maybe we don't talk in person as much as we used to. What do you think? Notice I used to in the same answer, and it sounds really natural. So write them down, learn them, okay? Try it out for yourself. Next, so the next part is specific help with speaking tests like the IELTS. But even if you're not taking a test, learning these will still help you. It's really good practice, I promise you. So the first thing you can do is repeat the question. Just repeat it exactly how it sounds. It helps you gain time, gives you a moment to think, but do not overuse it, okay? Don't overuse it because it might sound unnatural. For example, a question in an IELTS exam might be, what are the advantages of public transport? What are the advantages of public transport? Well, then you can answer. So I'm just repeating the question. Pretty easy. So the next one is similar, right? We're repeating the question, but we are changing the words a little bit, right? It shows we have a higher level of English. It does the same things really. Let's look at it. So same question. What are the advantages of public transport? Oh, so you're asking about the benefits of public transport. Well, now how can we do this? Well, if you remember, advantages is similar to, right, a synonym of benefits. So if someone asks you, what are the advantages of X? You can say, oh, so you're asking about the benefits of, and you say it. There are more words for advantages. I'll test you later. Let's practice them. So let's practice with a different word. So the question is, how does tourism affect your country's economy? How does tourism affect your country's economy? So what's a word similar to affect? It begins with an I and then M. Let's see if you know it. Impact. So we can say, so the question, how does tourism affect your country's economy? Right, so you mean how tourism impacts the economy? Well, I'd say, right, you're thinking what to say. You're buying time. Okay, let's try one for yourself. Ready? Question. What do you think are the benefits of learning a second language? Maybe you remember that benefits is similar to advantages. So say it out loud, everyone. Okay, so maybe you said, okay, so you want to know what the advantages are of learning a second language. Another way you could say is, oh, so you mean why learning a second language is useful? Well, I suppose, and continue. Okay, paraphrasing is a really good skill to learn. You can practice in the PDF. Go all the way down the bottom of the PDF and practice with the sample questions. The next thing you can do is just ask for time directly, right? And this doesn't always have to be an exam. It can be in real life, in an interview, in a presentation. So just a second, let me think. Just a second, let me think. Let me take a second to gather my thoughts. Let me take a second to gather my thoughts. Here. Can you give me a moment to think? Can you give me a moment to think? I need a moment to get this right. Maybe this one, if someone asks you a difficult question about numbers or about your presentation. Last one. Let me just sort out my thoughts. Let me just sort out my thoughts. Okay, an example. What are the biggest environmental challenges today? Oh, that's a tough one. Can you give me a moment to think? Well, I suppose climate change and pollution are two major problems. Now notice we used a simple time filler first to also help us. This sounds really natural, okay? And a normal filler, well, all right? Another thing you can use is you express a lack of opinion first. So if you're unsure, start with this before answering, right? It can really help you. So if you don't really have an opinion yet, right? You're thinking. I haven't really thought about that before, but I would say, then you can answer. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure, but I suppose, right? This is really kind of combining a simple filler with another filler. Next one. Well, if I had to choose, I'd say, okay, then you answer your question. Remember, there are more samples in the PDF. So, an example. Which historical figure do you admire the most? Right, a figure means a person, a famous person. I haven't really thought about that before, but I suppose someone like Nelson Mandela, because of his leadership and resilience. Right, his resilience, he doesn't stop, he keeps on going. Okay, welcome to the best part of the lesson. If you're still here, well done. So it's combining the techniques, right, for a more natural response, right, reply. We're combining the techniques we've just learned. Paraphrasing or repeating the question. Oh, so you're asking about, right? We're using a filler, a sample filler. That's an interesting question. Let me think. This is also giving you time, isn't it? You're asking for time. Actually, here we could say, could I have a second to think about it? Well, you can add that in. Then we express uncertainty, right? We're not sure. I haven't really considered that before, but I suppose. And then you give your response. So here is a perfect example of using all of these tips and tricks to answer a question in an IELTS style question. But it could be in an interview, you know. You're trying to get a job and you need to speak English. So here's an example question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of online education? So you're asking about online education. That's a tricky one. Let me just take a second to think. Well, I suppose one advantage is flexibility, but a downside is that students might feel less motivated without in-person interaction. Okay, so we're using everything. Look. So you're asking about online learning. We're paraphrasing the question, right? You're repeating the question in a different way. That's a tricky one. A simple filler, right? Oh, that's a difficult one. That's a tough one. Right? Oh, that's a difficult question. Okay, you can choose your favorite. Next, we ask for time. Let me just take a second to think. Well, let me just take a second to think. Well, and I suppose one advantage is, so here we're answering the question, right? But you need a good way. I would say one advantage is, right? So I suppose one advantage is, and then you answer the question, all right? It's a fantastic way to give yourself time and you sound more fluent. There are more examples in the PDF. I think I put 10, maybe more. So look at that. All right, that is today's lesson. It took me a very long time to make, but I just really hope it helps you if you have an interview, a presentation, an IELTS speaking exam, or you just want to become a more fluent speaker of English. This will really help you in general. Let me know in the comments what you think of it and if it has helped you. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.